Unpopular opinions. Clear rules give you more freedom in a game because you set certain expectations of what you and your players are going to do. And they also don't have to ask you questions about, if I can do this, every time they want to do something. They can just know that they can just do it without asking for my permission to do so.
You know, you would think after, how many years of role-playing games being like a big thing, and big companies with teams of hundreds of developers working, you know, I would like to think line the clock trying to produce the best, most fun experience they can, and you still can't just write rules clearly, and then so everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen.
No.
I suppose you're working with people, though, and people are intrinsically
stupid.
Yeah, let's be serious. If you look at the average player, you know, I suppose it's not like they're producing games for the...
Most people in life that you meet are brainlets, including us. So
yeah, I don't know how the fuck any of you guys are here and even take anything we say with any level of like, oh yeah, well, you know, the couple of good Neckbeardia. Well, they said X, Y, and Z. And,
no, we said nothing.
No, well, you did say something, but like, you know, we're fucking retards.
Yeah.
So,
pure brainlets.
Look, let's get into this thread, and you just let us know how absolutely brain dead stupid we really are.
I'm going to say 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Lethal RPGs are good because they give PCs a reason to plan and use diplomacy. Diplomacy, fuck me.
Okay, yeah, 10 out of 10. Please, let's just keep going.
It's low lethality RPGs that encourage murder hope.
You know, this is a problem, I think, especially with Americans. They see diplomacy as the weak option.
Yeah.
Where diplomacy can be used just as effectively as a knife.
Yeah.
More than most actual weapons.
Yeah.
It is one that I heavily encourage, diplomacy, because it depends on the DM. If they, like, you know, say if you come up with something and it actually sounds like a really cool idea, they might just give you a wee bit more leniency, or like, you know what, I really like this idea, let's try and move in that direction.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely do agree. If you let your players do anything they want, a good example is we're playing the Veil Lighters on Sundays, not this coming Sunday, but we played last Sunday, but we'll be playing again soon. And Guardbros let us sell some elves. We dressed them up as femboys, and we sold them into slavery. Now, slavery is not one of those things that's really... It's frowned upon very heavily in Guardbros setting, but like, all I'm saying is he introduced a gang that was into human trafficking, so, you know, like, you shouldn't have introduced us to that. We didn't know there was going to be merchants willing to buy the wares, okay? But even then, Guardbros was like, I will get you guys back for this, and I fully expect our party to be also sold into slavery in the near future.
Probably. The best way to avoid power gamers is 3d6 down the line. Builds be damned. Arrays and point buy are gay because every character of a certain class just ends up the same.
Yeah, they do actually.
Yeah.
More often than not,
Yeah.
a lot of people will just go for the optimized build and just call it a day.
Playing PCs with fat negatives is fun for roleplay.
Not necessarily.
Yeah. Your character isn't precious. Don't be surprised if you get mind controlled or turned into a werewolf or whatever, if its rules is written, and you had no objections in session 0. Session 0. There's no reason to run a module ever, except studying them for how to improve your own games. Backstory should be equivalent of an elevator pitch. Anything longer than a paragraph is just begging the GM to script you an epic snowflake side quest.
Yeah, a wee bit.
Race as class is based and makes non-humans capable of feeling truly unique. Invent your own skills. And freeform spellcasting are great within reasonable limits. The debate between story gamers and combat optimists ignores that exploration is the most important part of a fantasy world. Horror systems only work if your PCs are vulnerable mortals. Making them vampires/tieflings, etc. ruins it. Sandbox is the only way to play anything. Let your players actually do what they want. Instead of getting bummed out they ignored your cringe anime metaplot. Yes! Encumbrance is essential for survival games, but adding up weight is shit. Use slots. I'd rather people make more non-Western settings than fret over this Twitter cultural appropriation bullshit.
You know, that's one thing I really don't understand about the whole cultural appropriation. If you see a white fella with dreadlocks, he's possibly going to be the most least person to be against something like Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
And, like, you know, people that look at other cultures and say, oh my god, I actually really like that, I think that's really cool. They tend to, like, you know, how many weebs you know that defend Japan to the 9th degree over absolutely anything?
Yeah.
It's just fact. I think people, like, the whole term cultural appropriation is just a way for left-leaning people to cannibalize each other and it's just another form of virtual signaling.
Remember they tried to cancel Adele because she wore a Jamaican bikini?
Yeah.
With a Jamaica flag on it.
I'm going to assume people that are going to go about and do such things are going to be the least likely.
Yeah.
You're not going to see many people that firmly agree with Mein Kampf also walking about with...
dreadlocks and
and all that type of jazz.
Yeah. Historical fantasy or original worlds are better than having counterpart nations like Aval beyond Frankwick. Yeah.
Words. Am I right, guys?
Brainlet!
Yeah. 10 out of 10.
Human only and no human settings are underrated, as are using the original forms of fantasy monsters in European myth. Unified dice mechanics are boring. As for OP, they also don't have to ask you questions about if you can do this every time. Clear rules are good, but GM fate is not an annoyance. It's what makes RPGs more than just pay-per-video. Yeah.
Essentially, yeah. There's a few things that I would like to talk about in that, and I didn't want to interrupt every time. So one of the things is, I do love sandbox games. I do think they're a lot of fun. However, I do feel like to be a DM, you do need to spend a lot of time working on your setting, and you really want... And I feel like a lot of DMs create like narratives, and I don't like the idea of going in and just being like, well, we're going to do this, fuck your plot hooks, fuck everything out the window. I think if a DM spends the time and wants to do something, I'm more than okay with playing along with it, as long as what they're presenting in front of you seems like the most fun thing to be doing at any given time.
Yes, but
would that be fair to say?
I think the tales of a very good DM, the telltale signs of a very good DM is to be able to adjust with your players. If your players are going off from somewhere else, adjust your plot line to where you can maybe bring that plot line in again.
Yeah.
But follow them.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Make it up.
Yeah, yeah. And then include it in the background, maybe. Yeah. No, I could definitely see that. The only other thing would be backstories. To me depends on what level you're starting at. If you're starting at level 1, I don't think you should have any more than like 2 sentences on who your character is, because the game is supposed to be the story, not what you spend in your free time. Yeah. If you're starting a character at level 5, then add a bit more in, put a bit more in, and so on and so forth. The higher the level, the more storyline. Maybe a good rule of thumb would be maybe you get a paragraph per level. Would that be, so if you want to start at level 20...
Like a 5-sentence paragraph.
So if you want to start at level 20, then you can have your wee book backstory. Is that thing? And I've seen a lot of people put in, 17, 18 plus pages of... Guys, look at me, it's so great,
it's
so
actually
great.
Nobody gets that much.
I kind of feel bad for DMs
I know.
in that regard, but look, it's always nice to have a player that's very eager, and you would rather someone that's very eager and wants to play rather than someone that just shows up and doesn't have a pencil. Not looking at you, Megan. Not looking at you.
Hey guys, do you like models in your tabletop role-playing games? 'Cause we do too. Do you like having big bitty waifus on your table? 'Cause we do too. We got human biddies, we got lizard biddies, we got orc biddies, oni biddies, cat bussies. We've got everything you want at neckbeardia.co.uk.
Check the links down below, it helps us out a lot.
Sorry for interrupting the video, let's get on with the story. Generic systems are better at simulating genres than genre-specific rule system. D&D 3.5 edition is the best D&D edition since ever. Crunchy, modular, and internally consistent. In before it, my ivory tower and my caster supremacy. First is you being shit at system mastery. Obviously some options are more valid than others depending on the level of range of the game, but just some options should be available for a specific game. Second is you being shit at system mastery. Caster's supremacy peaks at mid-levels and then steadily diminish until past the 20th level, aka martial absolute supremacy ground.
The problem I've got with caster supremacy is essentially spells are just really fucking powerful.
Yeah, they are.
And, once you start to, summon in, or, strike, lean death from above.
Yeah.
Swords and shields,
they're decent, but they can't really...
don't get me wrong. I'm way more into my martial classes than I are my spellcasters. However, I can't deny that.
Yeah, I could never play a spellcaster. I don't even know what's in my bag half the time. Because I forget my pencil. I couldn't tell you what spells I would be running. No, it would be a lot for me.
Yeah, it would.
Hasbro and Paizo should double down with woke content and casualization of the rules. More polarization will serve to recreate an underground of corp-free environment.
That's actually...
of alternative/independent pen and paper RPGs, actually free from normie shit pollution.
Actually, that is a really interesting idea. Well, people have been saying this for years, that D&D is like a containment zone for normies. Don't get me wrong, and people that do go in and they do go into D&D and they get really into it and they do branch out eventually, it is one of those ones where nerd culture, by definition, is very insular, and they don't like new people coming in.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, there is a lot of bullshit wokeness being injected into every nerd fandom or anything at all.
Anything, it's getting fucking injected into everything.
But I do feel like, honestly, that's not a bad idea. And if you look at, for instance, GURPS, I always refer to GURPS because that's what everyone always goes about. It's if you try not playing D&D and just playing GURPS, because GURPS is the master system at everything. There is definitely communities of people that, try to avoid this, like the plague.
Yeah.
And having containment zones isn't a bad idea, if I be honest with you.
In before my players hemorrhage,
like my asshole. I'm just gonna keep it now.
Are you?
We'll keep going. Yeah, let's just keep going.
The numbers of players actually interested in the hobby is constant. What we currently have is just a flooding of normies that are momentarily interested because D&D is hip and post-geek. Those who are actually passionate do move on trying other games.
That is most definitely true.
Yeah. That's where you get all these stories from, though.
You do. I look. There's, but when it comes to any hobby or interest, there will always be people that pick it up and do it for maybe a few months, maybe a year, and then they just forget about it. There is only there's maybe 10% of new players will be playing in 10 years.
TG is fine as it is. There's no more cancer and low quality than in the past. Learn to herb and hide, new fag.
Most definitely. Be honest with you, TG, I don't think it's going downhill, but I do think the culture has changed, and the biggest one for me witnessed was definitely whenever they created Quest. I do feel like story times have changed. Now, we still have story times, they're just a lot shorter, and anytime I see a new story time, people are story shitter, go away, he's shitting up the board. It's well, he doesn't want to hear a good story.
Yeah, exactly.
And storytelling is intrinsically part of role-playing games.
Yeah. Backstories are a complete waste of time and energy. The entire point of a P&P game is back and forth creative exercise between a GM who establishes the world and explains what the players perceive in it, and the player tells the GM what their characters do within that world. And here you have some convention that is caught on against all sense and reason, where the GM is expected to read a player's bad fan fiction and try to use it for his game.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, a lot of story times are bad fan fiction, but backstories definitely take the cake for shit that I don't want to read.
Plucking plot points or character development or whatever. As if I wanted to read some gruesomely amateurish fanfiction for any reason to begin with. It's like asking a chef to pick through pasta to try to get some spices or condiments for the next day's meal. With the sort of odious result one might expect.
I mean, it's not that bad. Well, I'm gonna I want to hear what this guy how bad is he led?
It's almost outright masturbation, except instead of having the decency to toss their cum rag in the garbage, the player hands it to me, expecting me to read it and tell me how impressive his load was, and how we should share parts of it with the rest of the players during our next game together.
I want to know just how bad. I need examples.
The extent of any player's involvement in the story should be what his fucking character does in the game. Everything that went on before, it does not matter to anybody, except you. until you express it in actual action and takes place during the game. Yeah. On the nose.
Yeah, I do think anything that happens in game should be the most important thing. You can't. It's kind of like downtime. You can't just put in, oh, by the way, we did X, Y, and Z during my downtime.
Yeah.
And we've made billions upon billions of money. You know what I mean?
No, you didn't.
No. And you say, oh yeah, I'm a rogue, so of course I went and robbed a bank on my downtime, and here's 10k of gold, guys.
Yeah.
Sweet. No, that should be the session. It should be set around that maybe instead, or maybe like a one-on-one game. I feel like a lot of downtime should just be one-on-one games with a DM and a player in between if they've got time.
Even for like half an hour just to do something quickly.
Yeah, I think it's something that's possible.
Yeah.
I really want to know just how bad. You know what, guys? Instead of your unpopular opinions, I want to hear your worst backstories you've ever heard.
Yes, the worst backstories you've ever heard. A very unpopular opinion. Having a social session, talking to NPCs, getting to know them better, and just socialising in the whole session, or even a few, is very fun. Lore mining and actually being interested in interacting with the world and exploring a city is much more fun than going nomadic and never staying in a place for more than 3 sessions. Politics and intrigue are very fun and should be included in most pots. Low fantasy humans only is better than high fantasy.
Okay. So the problem I've got is, I really enjoy NPC interaction. Personally,
so do I.
I always like. A lot of people don't, but I always like to have a minimum of 14 charisma.
Yeah.
Like I never use charisma as a dump stop, even whenever I really should.
It can get you out of really shitty situations.
I love
really
charisma,
shitty situations,
and I always try to use it as much as I can because I don't know, maybe bandit interaction number 510 might be a bit more interesting than, okay, we just get the swords out and start stabbing each other. Maybe a bit of communication might be interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe you might get a nice wee plot out, or maybe
you can talk to that dragon,
or maybe the DM might just be willing to throw you a bone and actually be like, oh, this is interesting, let's go in this direction. I feel like role-playing games, it's all about throwing out different ideas at each other and being like, oh yeah, this is cool, this is interesting, oh, that works over there.
Yeah.
It's a mishmash of everyone's work coming out into one. It's really fascinating to watch, so it is. But I personally do enjoy this shit, but the problem is there's a lot of people that really just like a bit of combat. Yeah. There's a lot of people that really like combat, and I'll be honest with you, if you're having like a group of, say, maybe 5 people, and 2 of the people only really like combat, and 2 of the people only really like social interactions, group dynamic is not going to work. It all comes down to group dynamic, in my opinion. I would be personally up for this, and I did really enjoy playing Game of the Philosophy Meeting because that required an awful lot of NPC interaction because there was a lot of intrigue and mystery involved throughout it, if any of you guys have played it. But mind you, I don't know how much was homebrew and what was actually from it because Nick did an awful lot. Really good DM. But, you get what I'm trying to say. Also, human masterpiece, of course, high fantasy. Mudcore for life, am I right, guys? Be me, high fantasy. Personally, I like both. It just depends on what way you're going about it. It's just high fantasy is represented an awful lot more, and low fantasy is not. So, of course, there's always going to be that hipster opinion of low fantasy is best.
And politics and intrigue can be fun, depending on the group that you're playing with.
Do you find them fun?
Me?
Yeah. Do you? What do you think? What's your opinions on them?
On what?
On social interactions and NPCs.
Oh, I said no, politics and intrigue can be fun in a game, but it depending on who is in your...
Yeah, but like, you don't want to be playing with dickheads now, do you? You don't want people who are like... But
if you put politics in the game, make it like politics within that setting, not anything to do with the outside world.
The problem is... Everything is politics.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, it kind of is. It's almost one of those things that's impossible to escape from. Like, it was quite bad on our Facebook group. There was a lot of politics posting, and originally I was like, no, I really don't want to have any of it. But then I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Whether we like it or not, politics have gone that far extreme.
It's in everything.
It's part of the zeitgeist of this age.
Yeah.
And we just can't avoid it at this point. So I kind of said, like, guys, you can post it at the weekends. How does that sound? But not every fucking day.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? Are we absolute retards? I mean, like, yeah, we kind of are retards.
No, we totally are.
Yeah, I'm not actually going to argue any of you guys. I'm going to be like, yeah, we're kind of retarded. But I think we brought up some interesting points. And, like, you know, maybe if we could bounce off each other to, like, create alternative points or, like, discuss the ideas at play. Of course, you know, no opinion is truly right or truly wrong. There's only shades to be that bitch boy. You know what I mean?
But as we asked before, write down below the worst backstory you've personally ever written. Like, that's it, your first game, or that you've ever heard. If you're a DM, tell me the worst one that you've ever been given.
I want the pages. I want, like, diagrams. I want, like,
I want a PowerPoint and a bullet point presentation down below.
Yeah, definitely. And what's your thoughts or opinions? I mean, I think the biggest one is D&D's trash, and you shouldn't play D&D. But like, it's just don't hate the player, hate the game. You know what I mean?
Or don't hate the game, hate the player.
Yeah, I don't know. It can work both ways, I suppose.
But as always, check out the links down below to the mottos, the subclasses, all that good shit. Hit subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get notified every time we post a video. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
This is a sissy hypno video now. Wow, put on the cat ears. Wow. Yes, you will. Right, see you later, guys. Enjoy.